Marketers of the world, why do we work hard to solve small problems? It's time to bring home bigger paychecks. It's time to create the lifestyle we deserve and to make a greater impact. This is the Fractional CMO Show, and I'm Casey Stanton. Join me as we explore this growing industry and learn to solve bigger problems. The Fractional CMO Show is sponsored by CMOX, the #1 company to teach you how to attract, convert, and serve clients as an in-demand fractional CMO.
Hey, it's Casey, and I'm excited to chat with you today about one of the biggest shifts that you have to make as a CMO. And remember, when we talk about being a fractional CMO, what we're really talking about is being a CMO for multiple companies. That's all. It's not like a fractional CMO does anything terribly differently than a CMO does. They just serve more companies, and oftentimes the companies just don't need them for more than the services that they provide, right? So the fractional CMO and the CMO both have this same problem, and they have to shift in order to solve it. So we're going to be talking about this shift. If you get this, if you fully understand it, if you get yourself in a position to make this shift, your future will open. Right? Like there's doors in front of you and you're keeping them closed. So what I'm going to share with you is how you're going to be able to grab those handles, open the doors and walk right through and see how things transform. This is a fundamental shift that you must make. And the shift is going from I need to do this to this needs to get done. That's the shift from task focus to outcome focus. It's critical. It's simple. It's straightforward. You kind of already knew it, but let me remind you of the importance on this. The CMO can't do everything. It's impossible. You can't know every single detail that's happening inside of the business. That's not your job, right? Your job is to lead the department. Your job is to identify where the executive wants to go, and then create a marketing strategy and build the team and identify the campaigns and get them launched and executed based on your plan so that you can satisfy that executive's outcome. That's your whole focus here. It's not to do the work. What you want to do is you want to put yourself in a position where there's intelligent, hardworking, committed people that you enjoy working with on the team, and you delegate the work to them. Instead of saying, I need to do this, or even worse, it's going to take me more time to tell someone else what needs to get done than just do it myself. I'm not here to lie to you and tell you that to get lots of stuff done, sometimes it's inefficient because you have to delegate to people and teach them and it feels like a waste of time and maybe you could just do it all yourself, but they don't grow, they don't learn, they don't get better, they don't bring their ideas that are getting better and better to you, right? If you just take away that thinking, that critical thinking from them on how to solve, the problem that you present to them, you lose the buy-in that treating people like adults provides. So no one wants to be micromanaged. What is micromanagement? It's saying, hey, did you do this thing? Let me check this thing. Let me check your work. You're over their shoulder. No one wants that. What everyone wants is they want to be assigned something and they want to be given the authority to make that thing happen. So for instance, just for simplicity, we can say you want to get a webinar launched. Someone's in charge of that. Okay. So there's the content, there's the planning of the webinar. What's the hook? What's the big idea? What's going to be the call to action? Who's it for? What's the title of it? Who's doing the slides and the content? And then it's the technology. What are you going to use? You can use Zoom webinar. You can use Big Marker. You're going to use an evergreen webinar software. You got to figure that out. And then you got to figure out, okay, how are we going to promote it? To what list? Are we going to drive cold traffic? If we need to drive cold traffic, do we have a person that could drive cold traffic? Are we going to drop emails? Do we do a one-click opt-in? So your job is to kind of walk around the problem of the webinar and kind of solve it from a high level. Okay, we need this content created. We need these ads run. But those are then just outcomes that need to be given to other people to deliver on. You can't do that work. Your job is to stay elevated so that you can solve bigger problems. And the biggest problem you can solve in that situation is rallying the team around an outcome and having everyone be crystal clear on what they're doing and then let them own it. So for example, you might say, hey, marketing technician, your role is to figure out the best software for us to use. I think that Zoom webinar is pretty great, but I'm open to hearing what you think. Can you get me an answer back in 2 business days by 5 p.m.? Yes. Okay, great. So you gave them enough to kind of give them a lead, but you're not doing the work for them. That's really important here. So when you move to this role of chief marketing officer or fractional chief marketing officer, you're making the shift from I need to do this to this needs to get done. Maybe you're listening and saying, Casey, I work with a client right now and I'm the marketing department of one. There's no way I can delegate it. Well, there's 2 routes that you can go. I guess 3 routes. One is just to accept that. Okay. Another route is to hire someone to delegate to. And maybe the client doesn't have the budget. Well, in that case, maybe they're not the right client for you. And you have to go punch up a level. Maybe you're working with clients that have too small of revenue and you need to go to the next level. Maybe you're working with startups because they're really exciting, but the startup has no money. And as a result, they can't bring in talent. So everyone's getting overworked, which is fine. That's a fine way to have a business, right? But just realize that might not be where you should be if you want to grow your impact and your income as a fractional chief marketing officer. It's unacceptable for you to stay in a position wishing things were different if you have no control over them. If you say, I just wish I had talent that I could give this to, but I don't, so I guess I'm going to have to pull another late night on this project. No, you need to fill up your pipeline with other great clients and then close them and then shed these clients that don't have the budget to satisfy the life that you want. If you have clients that have the capital to bring in people, the hiring process can be kind of slow. It can kind of feel like a bottleneck sometimes. We've got the money to hire someone. Now we just have to find great talent. And as I record this in Q4, we find that there's a lot of people that, potentially are interested in getting hired in January after they get their annual bonus. So they're sticking around with a company until an annual bonus. It's tough. It's tough to hire some people. So if you're in this place right now where you have to pitch hit, you have to jump in, you have to execute some campaigns because you're waiting for someone to be hired, I feel you, and just get yourself out of that position just as quickly as you can. Hire an Upworker if you have to. Hire someone short-term if you have to, right? The CMO should never let the day pass where the work isn't getting done. And if push comes to shove, yeah, you got to show up and do the work. You got to get in the trenches with the team and help them. But you should also put yourself in a position to never need that to happen. You need to make the shift from I need to do this to the work needs to get done. And this task focus to outcome focus will serve you long-term, absolutely guaranteed. If this has been interesting, I'd love to hear your comments. We've got a Facebook community over at cmox.co/community. It's for all the fractional CMOs. We've got hundreds of us in there, and there's some really lively discussions about what's going on in the world of fractional CMOs. I'd love to have you join that. Go to cmox.co/community. Look forward to seeing you there. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for today's show. For more information and episodes, visit our site at fractionalcmoshow.com. Go ahead and punch that like and subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. It means a lot, at least to my mom.